Hillian push is pretty good against this too. In general, this build is just a safe build. It's not really a good one.
Gotcha.
So yeah, the Thor drop is probably the best way to deal with this, or Thor drop, and before that, a Hillian rush.
Okay. Hellion Rush, yeah, I've seen a lot of that play early beta, and I don't know, it just seemed like it was extremely overpowered versus Zerg, but then, had its issues with Protoss as soon as they can get Stalkers out.
Well, Stalkers have always been a pretty big problem, I guess, but
Yeah.
they're not as strong anymore, or they're not as used anymore, really, I don't think.
So how do you feel about the Viking in terms of functionality with lifting and, I should say, assault mode and ground mode? Do you think they hit the nail on the head there with that unit?
I'd like to say no, but I don't know why. I'm not totally comfortable with the unit itself. I mean, it's 150 minerals and a 75 gas, and I think it's relatively weak. While I like the idea, I don't know. The nerfing to ground damage was a pretty weird change. I mean, I don't know many people that complained about the ground damage that they had.
Right.
Like, 14 damage for 150 minerals. I know they're not primarily a ground attacking unit, but they gotta have some use, otherwise they'd be absolutely crap. So, I'm not sure about that change, but overall I think they're fine. I just... there's something slightly wrong with them. I'm not sure what though.
Well, fair enough. Well, they got 2 expansions eventually to change them, or lots of patches, so that should be good. So you've got a couple
Definitely.
command groups of units outside of his base here. Are you feeling you just need to contain him in order to win this game and then maybe out-expand him? Or what are your thoughts at this point in the game?
Well, like earlier, when he was kind of setting up outside my Zelnaga watchtower, or outside my base at the Zelnaga watchtower, in TVT on this map, these Zelnaga watchtowers are like perfectly placed to just keep a Terran in his base, or anybody in his base for that matter. So yeah, I set up a strong point here. I've got him pinned in. He's got an expansion, so technically he's ahead, but mine's coming down too now, so I'm not too worried about that. As long as I'm safe and I block him in, then the only way out is dropships, which I have air control too, so
Yes, you do.
I just have to keep scanning and making sure that he doesn't really build up a superior air fleet, and as long as he doesn't do that, then I'm fine.
I see. And I see you're about to use the cliff to do some harassment. How important do you think that harassment is in this game?
In this particular game, it wasn't really that important. Like, I stopped his gas, I guess, but it's just, a little moral victory right there. I killed his refinery, didn't lose anything, so... And he he used some...
Banshees
He used
here.
some Banshees, yeah.
And it looks like a very bad miss micro here. He's going to come back when your scan is still active and lose both of his Banshees. And at the same time, he was trying to push in, and it looks like he may have lost control of his units and just went too far. And I think that was a big turning point of this battle. What do you think?
Yes, these 2 Banshees, like, the Cloak as well. Is Cloak 200? Like, I don't know if they changed it. Like, the cost.
I actually don't know for sure. I don't know if they changed it or not.
Yeah, it's somewhere around there anyway. But those 2 Banshees plus the Cloak upgrade, that's like 500 to 400 in resources that he just used to kill 1 tank. And I mean, that's not a worthy trade. That's a pretty bad trade if you ask me.
Oh, for sure.
But right now, the fact that he didn't go Vikings, I've gone Vikings here, but I've also got the Zelnaga watchtower. So, he can't have vision. If he wants to see my tanks and shoot them with his tanks, he has to use a scan. So every time that he wants to fight here, he either has to use a scan or he has to run into my siege tanks with Marauders,
Right.
which that's why we both have such high gas at this point. Like normally, nowadays, both of us would be massing the shit out of Vikings. So we'd both be low on gas, we'd both be trying to get as many Vikings out as possible, trying to get air control, but in this game, he knows he has to bust out of here pretty soon, otherwise the game's over. So he completely gives up air control, but in turn he gets out a superior ground force.
Okay, so yeah, I noticed both you players are going towards Marauders. Is that a natural transition in this build, or was that kind of just situational for both of you?
It's a pretty good transition. I mean, Marauders are pretty cheap. Like, I'm going to say that. They're good for their cost. Very good, in fact. They deal with tanks good. They can tank pretty good. Like, they're a good meat shield.
Right.
Although in this patch, tanks did 60 damage, so if I got one upgrade, I can two-shot Marauders even without stim. So
You're right. You're right, yes.
So yeah, this is an old game. One mistake that Tarson did in this game, if you look at his main base, he muled 2 fields constantly, so he's stuck with 6 patches rather than having 8.
Oh, you're right. That is a pretty big mistake, actually.
Oh, there was a fight just then. I don't know if you're watching
That's
it now.
okay. I'm on the camera watching it, so the viewers will see it. He is using his stim, and his tanks are going at it, but it looks like because of your Vikings, if they land, they're going to take out these tanks pretty quickly.
Yeah.
That's just a lot. Well, oh no, you did have to jump back up in the air. The Marauder support with those tanks was just too much.
Right.
It looks like.
But if you look at the supplies, I'm almost on 90. He's on 50, so
Oh, yes.
I'm definitely ahead.
That is a pretty huge difference, actually. Now, in his eyes, he's probably thinking, oh, I've been able to bust out, and now I may be in a good position. But in your mind, you probably still think you've got the tower, so you're in a good position as well.
Right. Even though his army, even if his army was bigger, you've got the tower, you're going to have first hit. So you've got a huge advantage having this tower. Right. So I'm not worried at all at this point. He's got more barracks, so he can bring in units faster. But I'm not too worried about that, as long as I hold on to this tower, and I've got enough Vikings to do so.
Yep, and you are quite a bit of ways ahead on the harvesters as well, so your income's able to supplement the little bit lower production buildings that you have. You can keep pumping them out consistently, whereas he may have to take a break. So,
right.
Yeah, so fairly even, and yeah, now your Vikings are in ground mode and going right through his army.
Okay, I guess they are a bit strong against ground, like seeing that, but so yeah, the nerf was justified. But if there's anything that I want to see nerfed in the near future, it's Terran tanks and Banelings.
Terran tanks and Banelings. What do you think are the needed changes to make those more balanced units?
Well, okay, I'll talk about the tank changes first.
Okay, let's go ahead and pause the game and we can talk about both changes. So I'm going to pause it at 1820.
Sure.
And we'll go ahead and resume it in a bit here. But yeah, go ahead and talk about what changes you think the tanks need.
Okay, tanks, even though the damage has been nerfed to 50, if you have, let's say, 100 supply army, you have the choice of getting 10 supply more. What are you going to get when you're dealing with a ground army? I mean, there's no argument that you're going to get 3 tanks. There's just nothing that can even go against that idea. If you have 5 Marauders, fine, that's pretty good. If you have 10 Marines, sure. But if you have 3 tanks, at the moment, that can decimate an army alone. I mean, it's just not a good trade to make anything else. And StarCraft 2, I'd like to have the choice. Like, if he's got a ground army,